So
I'm really pissed off you interrupted my nap.
Your nap, but that was your night's rest.
That was my night's rest. Well, I'm sorry, I'm a hustler and I work harder than you. You found time for 3 hours of sleep. I myself like to apply myself and dedicate. We all have the same 24 hours, Craig.
That's true. Everybody's circadian rhythm is different, I suppose. Yours just is on a constant loop. It doesn't stop, except for 19 minutes while we're getting ready for the podcast. And when I say we, I mean me.
Getting ready. Okay, so what Craig is talking about, welcome to the Texas Poker Experience. We're two grumpy friends, Craig Sear and Kayla Kameski. And this is our lovely new custom felt. Thank you, Night Owl Poker Tables. And Craig Sear for firing very loud power tools while I was trying to sleep. Thank you. It looks great.
Well, you're welcome. You slept right through it, so I don't know.
I really did.
I don't know why you even know that they were loud. You were sleeping. You were snoring, actually, at one point.
Was I really? Was it like a cute snore, or was it like a, oh, God, Kayla?
This may come as a newscast, to like broadcast to the world.
But
no such thing as a cute snore. There's no such thing as a cute snore. Snoring is the most awful sound on the face of the earth. I have an announcement. I would like to wish my son a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Charlie.
It is his second birthday, and he started his terrible twos when he was like 18 months old, and I'm hoping that he closes them early as well.
Anything's possible, but I'm rooting for you, Charlie. I saw your new trick climbing out of the crib. You're a hero.
Yeah.
Stick it to Craig. Make him chase you around. He doesn't get enough exercise. I'm worried about him.
Yeah, the nights have been difficult. The climbing out of the crib thing makes you realize that he could have free roam of the house whilst I am enjoying my 2.5 to 3 hours of sleep, and that's terrifying.
Have you baby-proofed it? How hard would it be to find?
We're working on it.
Okay.
We're working on it. We just didn't think this day was upon us, and now we're like, oh, shit.
Which, by the way, I'm just saying that to make conversation. I don't give any parenting advice. I'm sure you're nailing it and doing 10 trillion times better than my deepest fantasy.
Oh, that's where you're wrong. See,
but Flash, also, don't you expect me to be like an amazing mother?
Yes. I was wondering how long that awkward silence would last. So, welcome back. Caitlin, we still have a sponsor.
Oh, how...
Somehow we managed to not get canceled or dropped or anything like that. So that's cool, because I've been known to say some edgy things. You say some very edgy things.
What are the edgy things you're saying? Your hot takes on this week's episode of...
I guess I just maybe filter them a little more when the mics are on. I don't know.
I don't have that gear, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you're just a little more authentic than me. I guess.
He said it.
We are talking about Patch Addict. Patch Addict, wear your pride on your sleeve. Go to www.patchaddict.com. Check out their products. We actually have a coupon code for them this week. If you enter Texas Poker at checkout, you can get 20% off your order. No minimum.
What?
Any orders over $25, you get free shipping too.
And something that I wanted everyone to know that we didn't mention last week is these are iron-on patches. So you don't even have to get a thread and needle. You don't have to work that hard. Fashion will come to you with just a little heat and parchment paper.
Yeah, I failed to realize that as well. And unfortunately, I've known Chris for a very long time, and I knew he was doing the patches. And there's even been a couple times where I thought, oh, that's something I could talk to Chris about. And then I was like, nah, I'm going to have to sew the stupid thing on there and whatever. Totally numb, failed to realize that they're just iron-on patches. And it's right there on the website for you to see. And I saw it today and was like, oh, well, that makes it a lot easier. And I probably could have used product of his a long time ago, but I will now, for sure. And for those of you like watching on video, we've got a few of their patches right here on the table. We might do a giveaway at some point too.
Yeah. I was saying this earlier, and I hope no one takes this the wrong way, but since we now have our face photographs of our face, of our two dumb faces on a table, I had this impulse to want to sit on our faces.
Don't do it. Don't do it. The felt is soft. I will give you that. The felt is soft. I think you would be comfortable, but like this table has some it's not. This table looks and feels
Craig.
very real, but the legs.
Craig!
The legs on this table are just, let's just be honest. Even just moving it around earlier when I was putting the felt on it, I was like, boy, this thing is a little bit rickety. These are not the legs that I would put on a normal poker table. These are legs that were just kind of hanging around in the garage. And let me just tell you, I don't think I'd want anyone even leaning on this poker table. It's not super sturdy.
Craig called me fat, y'all. You all heard it. He took a 2-minute elaborate run around.
I wouldn't let Charlie stand on this poker table.
Well, I guess you're calling Charlie fat too. Because if furniture is breaking, that is the assumption that you are making, and I think you know that.
I'm going to suggest a subject change. What's new since last week, Kaylin? What have you been up to? I know what you've been up to. Tell our audience what you've been up to.
I've just been playing hours and hours of poker, playing super deep cash games. There were a lot of guys in from out of town. A couple guys from Chicago. Shout out to Jeremy and Tom.
Were there any ladies in from out of town?
There was one lady in from out of town. My good friend Poker Face Ash was in town, and we got to go to dinner and hang out with some friends and see each other around the lodge at some of those tourney events. She made a really deep run in the Munster Monthly 500K. She got 22nd, I believe, for like 6,900 and change. So she got to pay out her backers, and she got to document it on her Instagram story. And she's also taking footage for all of her vlogs. Please subscribe to her YouTube vlog if you haven't already. All my love to Poker Face Ash.
I did talk to a couple of friends that fired bullets in this 500K, and as much as I really dislike tournaments personally, my results in tournaments are actually decent. I haven't played any in a very long time, but I was talking to a friend of mine, and it kind of gave me the itch, and I think I might play one of these at some point. And he said, yeah, that's great. Yeah, you got to jump in there. They're so much fun, and we'll swap action. And I said, no, that would be a terrible idea. You're a good player, and I'm just going to light money on fire in a tournament like this. These fields are, getting a little bit better than they were perhaps even just a couple of months ago. And I think that's a function of the YouTubers joining in and a lot of people really starting to hear about how massive these things get. But so the long and short of it was, I said, we don't want to swap action. You're just, you're going to have to give me some of your winnings if we do that. And then you're just going to share in my losses as well. And I said, but boy, would that not be badass to cut a friend a check for $90,000 and be like, here you go. Thanks for believing in me.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because this main event that I'm getting ready to enter, the day one flight started today, but we're obviously here recording, so I'm not playing that. But tomorrow I'm going to play the 12P. I have got 30% backing on 2 bullets, and this is my first time actually getting either tournament or cash action backed in any type of way. And I was really shocked at how easy it was for me. I guess maybe I should have, more confidence and faith in myself and the people I play with, and the time that I put in on the felt, that people are going to believe in the chance of, me having a deep run. But I was super flattered by the amount of interest there was in my tournament action. And I really hope I get to write my friends a check. Well, I'm going to give them cash. You get paid out in cash. If you want to get paid in a check, you have to wait 2 to 3 business days, and then you're definitely reporting it. But all tourney wins get reported. It's on the end.
I can tell you that from my days playing golf, I had some sponsorship, and there's a confidence that you get in yourself, but that's sort of limited, and sometimes that confidence can wane based on your results. But when someone else says, hey, here's some money of mine that I earned, my hard-earned money, and I believe in you enough to give it to you as an investment. I am investing in you and your talents. And it's like, whoa. It's such a boost in your confidence. It's like, wow, they believe enough in me to cut me a check or to give me some cash and say, hey, you go do this. You're better at this than me, so you do it. And I'll try and make some money that way. It just really makes you feel good and feel like you're doing the right things, and someone else is noticing that.
Yeah, there's definitely an acknowledgement there of effort and talent and perseverance of any pursuit when you get any type of backing. I think that one of my biggest weaknesses right now as a poker player, I've identified a leak in my game, is that I struggle with imposter syndrome way too much, especially on the downswings. This is a really hard game. We've talked about ups and downswings before, but when you're winning 5 plus K weekly in cash games and your Binkin' Deep tournament runs or whatnot, it's really easy in those times to see what other people see in you. But when I go through downswings, I really struggle with feeling insecure and I get paranoid. I think people are targeting me. And I think that's one of my biggest lessons. And I keep getting feedback from my mentors and people that want to see me succeed that are like, nobody's targeting you. People are just playing their hands and their ranges. You need to get that insecurity and that paranoid out of it, especially when you're playing higher stakes, because everybody goes through that.
Right. They're not targeting you, but you are seeing it through that lens. And that's just a function of your negative results getting to you. And you're kind of looking through that lens.
And part of that could be the woman thing. I mean, like, even though there were so many women in the room when I was playing, I very rarely sat with women at poker games. I got to play a couple tourney downs with Jessica, who's a new friend who is not a full-time player, but whip smart. And I think she'll be really successful. I met a new friend last night. I'm not going to remember her name, but it cracked me up though, because she found me on Twitter because I posted on Twitter and she responded to it like, "Hey, I think you're at my table last night." And I was like, "Yeah, 100%. Hell yeah." And I didn't bring up the detail of what I remembered, but she was like, "Yeah, you doubled me up, ace jack versus ace deuce." And I was like, "Yeah, and I do it again."
Do it again in a heartbeat. Best money I ever spent.
I 3-bet you. I have to call. You had like 7 bigs, but like, yeah.
Well, so you've been logging the volume. I have not. I've been logging many hours at poker tables, just not playing any hands. I did a full day down at SAPP, San Antonio Poker Palace, working a few tables over for them and doing a bunch of work. I did like a full day. I did like 12 hours of upholstery there on Sunday. It was brutal, but I've got a long-standing relationship with the owner of that club, and every time I get to go down there and see him and hang out a little bit. San Antonio's got a little different feel to it at the poker clubs. It's definitely different. There was some talk at a game last night. They were talking about rounders, and wow, I mean, it's just a little different there. Those games at rounders are deep. Like the big game, there's 4, 5, 6, 7 tables every day of the biggest game in the room.
I think the biggest translation between the Austin scene and the San Antonio scene is that number one, all games are big. Small games don't exist in San Antonio. The 1-2-5 is 75% match the stack. And also the action is the same at all games. Like I feel like as you move up in stakes in Austin, the games are going to get tighter, nittier, more tight, aggressive, and you're not going to see those loose aggressive types or at all, whether or not they're talented or a donkey or an action player. I feel like there's so many more action players in San Antonio, and that's the culture. And they don't really, from my understanding of the dudes that play there and the women that play there, they don't really have a lot of tolerance for people knitting it up in their games. Like if you want to sit down, you're going to have 7 shots with us. You're going to high five and hang loose with Big Daddy Chaz, but you're going to play some pots, and you're not going to get a seat at the table if you're not willing to.
Right. And conversely, at the Lodge or at Red Star, at some of these Austin clubs, you're not going to find in the same club 1-2, 1-3, 2-5, 1-2, 5 on the button. You're not going to. It's basically like 1-2 or 1-3, and then it jumps to that 1-2-5, and that is the big game. There's not like a super nitty, full of pros 5-10 game going on.
And if there is a 5-10, it's a private game, and it's organized by mostly rec players that do their best to keep pros out. And games like that in Austin don't exist, but they're inaccessible to the pros. And any game that's in a club is eventually going to have to be made public to the public. And I mean, at the Lodge, they never make any of their games that they're going to list on Poker Atlas private. And maybe some of the other clubs, you have to know when you're able to get on the list, but the pros are able to get in there. And a lot of these 5-10 games, if they're in a pro, if they're in a club, they're infested with pros right now. And it's tough, and it's an adrenaline rush for me because those are the largest stakes games I play are also the toughest skill wise. Occasionally you get to throw a bone, you get to play with some action players here and there, but you have to say yes to every game to be able to get those. So I've been playing a lot with people that are very, very skilled and do not play a lot of hands and are going to apply max pressure. And I can be that person at some other tables, but when you're on the receiving end of it, it's easy to succumb to wanting to play out of fear and to be like, oh, I'm going to check this river because if you come over the top of me, I hate my life, when the real mindset needs to be, I can't live in fear. I have to bet my hands. I have to make max value. If I'm betting third nuts into first nuts here, oh well. And I did have a situation like that on the stream where I tried to rep the nuts. And unfortunately, I bluffed into the second nut. So, did not get through. She was snapped. But
it's hard to rep the hand your opponent has. They have what the kids call key blockers.
And he was one of the more solid people at the table. Like, honestly, I spazzed out. And sometimes, because of the position I am in my life now, I have to do that on camera a lot. And it blows to go home and to try to sleep knowing that you really screwed the pooch. This was
only somewhat similar story. There was a tank call in a bomb pot a couple of weeks ago, and it was potted on the river, and it was a pretty significant amount. I don't remember the exact amount, but it's a 1-2 game, and it was $800-900 to pot it on the river. And so this guy's thinking, and it's basically for the rest of his stack at this point. It's late in the evening, and he's got a flush, and he's just verifying. He's looking, and he's going, okay, there's no board pair, so I'm not losing to a full house. Okay, he's like, well, there's a straight flush available, but I have the straight flush blocked. So he's pretty sure that the nut flush is the nuts. And he turns his hand over, and he was probably the last one to realize before he called that he had the straight flush. So
he said, I have straight flush blockers.
He
so
noticed that he had the straight flush blocked, and then that's when he didn't realize that he actually made the straight flush on the river.
I've done it too.
So yeah, it is crazy when you got 4 cards, you got 2 boards, there's a ton of money piling in there, and it's just funny because this guy's a pretty good player. A very good player.
No,
and
I threw a fit the other day when I made a boat on one board, and it checked to me, and I just absentmindedly checked, and then someone checked behind, and then we went straight to showdown, and I'm like, fudge sickle, I made a boat. I need to bet there.
Yeah,
I could have made $400 or $500 more. What is wrong with me? But those hand reading errors, those are all mistakes we're gonna do. There's a lot of stuff going on at the club.
So of course nobody can help this guy and say, hey, dude, you actually have the straight flush. You have it super blocked in that you have the straight flush. You can't block it any more than that. You actually have it. But eventually he did realize, and he called that, and then everybody, had a chuckle about it. I don't want to name him by name,
geez.
but it rhymes with Chris. I'll tell you that much.
Sounds about right.
So I have a Dallas update.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
I will admit, not extensive research, but I actually listened to some of the hearing that they did last week, and I found a couple of things very alarming. One is that you can tell with these Dallas city officials, they are none too enthused with poker being a business in Dallas. They are, obviously that's why this whole thing started, is they're trying to revoke their COs. But just hearing, of course they are taking questions from people that are proponents of poker and poker clubs and, things being on the up and up and in well-lit rooms and not smoky back rooms. And they're trying to make these points, and the Dallas city officials, you can just tell in their tone and their response to the questions, they're hurrying people when they're asking their questions and giving their, testimony. And you can just tell that they're like, just shut up. We're not interested. And it's really, really not good. It does not seem good. And what's crazy is the alarming thing is they keep citing Texas law. They're not citing like Dallas, city ordinance. They're saying you are violating Texas law, and you're violating it a lot. And so they keep talking about tip chips. They're even taking up the tip chip fight, saying that, no one can directly benefit. They're citing the statute, the state, law that says no one can benefit directly from gambling. And it's just, I don't know how many times you could tell them that poker is a game of chance, or is not a game of chance. Poker is a game of skill, and that's been deemed by law. There's qualifiers for that, and poker has been deemed in Texas to be legal. It is a game of skill. It is not a game of chance. So to refer to poker as gambling is incorrect. And then they're talking about the tip chip saying that you're benefiting directly from the game. And they're even making a case saying that, well, if you're paying as, access to the club, if you've got to pay to get into the door and you've got to pay to be a member, and then you're just there paying poker, they're saying you're directly benefiting from the game. Whereas the counter argument would be, you're paying to be a member of this club. You could play darts, you could play pool, you could get on the golf simulators at Rounders, you could do a lot of things. Which nobody
does. Spoiler alert.
Right. I mean, clearly people are showing up to play poker. They're not calling them, some of them are called social, but some of them are called card club, poker club, whatever. Clearly it's centered around poker, but that's because people want to play poker. And like we've said so many times, people are going to play poker. These clubs are doing good things. They're keeping poker in well-lit rooms with security. These live streams are growing the game nationwide. I mean, they're drawing so much attention to how great and how much fun people can have playing poker. It just really, really sucks. I'm getting kind of nervous thinking that not only, like I said last week, not only is Dallas, I think, just going to drop the hammer, I think that the way that they're dropping the hammer and the things that they're saying, they're really setting precedent for other cities, other municipalities to say, yeah, look, they weren't saying that's not allowed in Dallas. They were saying that's not allowed in Texas.
It's just so hilarious to me that the argument about like, oh gosh, these poker rooms are going to bring all this crime and all these nefarious characters, when it's like every poker pro I know is like a Matt Berkey, like fucking swole. They got their nutrition. They train like an athlete. They study like they're trying to get the cure for cancer to get that 5% edge against all fields. Poker is a self-discipline sport. It's a game of mental fortitude, psychological strength. There's so many benefits to poker that I think learning the game as a hobby, not even necessarily as a profession, can benefit so many different people, especially younger people and young women. I think it's so great for young women to be empowered because, even Joe said it when he was here and like falling in love with Nakia. He's like, to be able to go into a casino and sit down at a table as a woman, like that takes it takes balls as like a man. It takes balls to sit there and put your cash on the table and, put it in the pot.
It's intimidating. It's very intimidating.
It's very intimidating.
Any casino experience, actually,
but I think it can help women with networking and feeling empowered to achieve to expand the horizons of what we think that we're capable of.
Networking is the most overlooked thing in poker, and I think that I've said it before on this podcast. I think that networking is the single best thing. It's the easiest place when you are on a weekly or monthly, daily basis. That's where you're choosing to spend some time, and you start to get to know people. You start to interact with them. Maybe you do a little business with them. Maybe you're just like, hey, I got this tooth bothering me. Does anyone know a dentist? And someone's like, yeah, my neighbor's a dentist. So it's great because I know my dentist personally and I trust him and he doesn't give me the runaround. He's not a bullshitter. I can go in and see him twice a year for a cleaning, once a year for a cleaning, whatever. And he just says, hey, this thing's not looking so great. Let's take care of it. Let's take care of it right now before it gets worse. And it's not going to cost you $6,000. It's like a $100 thing. Just let's get it done and be preventative about it.
Like, local connections are absolutely important. And a funny thing, and like, so there's networking and just like meeting your doctor or your dentist or whatnot, but like a lot of the high rollers tell the younger pros, and even me sometimes, like if you're smart enough to make money as a living playing poker, you're smart enough to make a lot more money doing something else.
Probably true.
And a lot of times I feel like the supposed whales of the games, they're the ones that are beating life. They're the ones that have the money to spend and gamble and have an evening out. And if anything, the poker pros are leeches.
Right. I mean, these people are crushing life, and they have 5 or 10K to just go and just donk off at a poker game and just be like, nah, whatever. Like, I make 60 grand a month.
That's
I don't
strength.
Really give a damn.
That's power.
Right.
Grinding out an hourly.
Right.
Ugh. But anyway, poker's very uplifting, and we hope that Dallas gets their heads out of their butts.
So speaking of these whales that just dump money into the poker scene, I made a pie chart
Oh my gosh, I love that for you.
I will show it, but I think what we'll do is post it on our Instagram.
100%.
So I made a pie chart showing
Look how colorful.
where the money comes from. So like if you win $100,
it's almost like when you're in like elementary PE and they have like the rainbow balloon parachute that you play with.
I don't think I like where you're going with this. So first of all, I spent minutes creating this, and you use the word elementary is the first adjective you use, like I'm some kind of child. What do you think, Charlie did this? No.
It's very bright primary colors is all I was trying to get at.
What I did was I broke down in categories. So say you have a winning session, and let's just say you win $100 for easy percentages. Okay. I broke this down, and this is official. This is BEBS, which is Bovine Excrement Bureau of Statistics. These are
Very
drawn
clever, Craig.
direct rectal extractions on my part. So I just decided this is probably where the money came from that you won. So the largest portion, this green portion here, that's coming from bad pros. So these are pros that are self-proclaimed pros, but they don't win money. They lose money. They are probably losing their parents' money. They're probably losing their trust money. They're walking around money, as some people say, and they're just kind of more affluent. They have a lot more walking around money than most people have. So bad pros I have as the largest chunk. The people that go and just, it seems like they lose like $4,000 every time they play, but they're like, yeah, man, I'm a pro. And it's like, wow, it's weird because you like never go to the cage. It's kind of strange. The second, right behind that, bad pros was 32.4%. Again, completely
I feel like
made
people
up.
are going to say that you're in that category, Caitlin. Fuck you.
The next, at just behind that, 32.1%. So overall, we're talking almost 2/3 of all the money that can be won in poker, government funds. Now, there's subcategories to this one. You're talking Social Security checks, government pension, people cheating the welfare system and just like, getting their unemployment checks when they're working under the table. I mean, just all the people that are just cheating the government out of money. They're just like, well, I don't care. This is like free money. I don't give a shit about this. I'll just go fuck this off at poker.
I don't know if I stand behind this one so much. This one's rather political.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody really stands behind any of this.
Because it's just the BEB.
Yeah. Yeah, the BEBS. It's official.
We're just reporting the facts here.
Next, this is a little bit more specific to Austin, but tech salaries. A lot of people in tech, they're just drawn to poker.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in tech around Austin specifically. Mm-hmm. So I think there's some tech salary money, which is, that's good, clean money. That's good, clean, white-collar money coming into poker. Next, this dark blue section here, illicit cash. These are going to be your street pharmaceutical reps.
Okay.
These are going to be your ladies of the night. These are going to be your... What else? What other illicit
ladies
cash?
Of the night.
11.7%.
Are you 74 years old, ladies of the night? A woman of ill repute.
Yes. Probably other forms of illicit cash, but, illicit cash. Next, 6%. Dealers' tips. Okay. A lot of dealers.
My heart.
A lot of dealers spend a lot of time around poker. And let me tell you, just like when I worked at a golf course, sometimes you're just around people playing golf all day and you're like, damn, when I got a day off, I'm going to go play golf. It's so fun. And then you get out there and you realize, like, I'm not that good at this. I kind of suck. But let me just tell you, dealers in general, myself included, I am not including myself in here. Just like, we're not very good poker players. It's like we just are not patient enough. We see the spots.
Well, because I have a theory on this because I feel like dealers are so used to being involved. They're so used to like controlling the game, being the center of the tension. When they have to go and like fold like 70% of their hands, a lot of them don't want to, or they fancy themselves, some fancy skilled, loose, aggressive player that can take advantage of all these regulars that they presume to know a lot about. But unfortunately, you need to make some hands to pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I would describe it is like you're in a spot and you go, wow, I've seen so many good players fold this spot. But watch this.
Call.
Watch this shit, y'all.
Hold
my beer.
Insta-call.
Hold my beer. I get to put chips in the pot tonight. I am not going to fold. I did not come here to fold.
Some punk kid was trolling me so bad the other day. He called me down. I bluffed the river, and it wasn't that big of a pot. I think I bet maybe 3/4 pot on the river for $3.25. Honestly, not a big pot, but he slowed down and I took it and I took a stab at it. I don't play with this kid that often. And he fucking snapped me off with ace 8 high. And he was right. I had queen high. I was taking a stab at it at the board. Oh God. And then I was and then this other guy was making conversation with me about it. And I was like, yeah, I think I undersized it. I think if I size up to 375, 400, he finds the fold. And the kid was like, nope, I always call there. I always call there. And I was like, no, you don't. I made the error. I made it too cheap for you to look like a hero. And now you think you're some friggin' shark.
You can't just show up with ace jack there, huh? Because that's my all-time favorite is when someone hero calls with worse. I love that. That's my all-time favorite thing to see at a poker table. I absolutely love the hero.
No, I was the person not being patient yesterday and trying to bluff too much because I was just like, damn it, I can't make a hand.
Last category on here I have at a remarkable 1.7%. So if you won $100 in a poker room, $1.70 of that is some poor college kid that thinks he knows everything about the game, shows up at the poker room with the only $90 he has in the world and just comes in thinking he's going to set the world on fire, doesn't fully understand anything about bankroll management and the fact that after he, makes his move with that $90 and loses it, whether he was ahead or behind when the money went in, he doesn't have another $100 to buy back in or $60 or $20. Probably doesn't even know how he's going to get back to campus. But let me tell you, as a percentage of what that money would mean to them versus, the tech salaries, the bad pros of the world, the trust fund babies, the people with government funds coming in. I feel like
there's some crossover between the bad pro category and the college kid category. I feel like most of the college kids that are showing up to games that I'm at with money, occasionally they win. And they have heads as big as what's it? A Hindenburg? Heisenberg? What's that balloon that damn blowed up?
That's the Hindenburg.
Hindenburg, yeah.
Heisenberg
they got these
is a
little
Breaking Bad guy.
Well, him too, because he got a god complex as well.
True.
But it's like, honey, you doubled your money in a 1-2 game. Slow your roll.
Yeah. There are some college kids that are pretty good players though. They get it. They're personal. They're nice. It just kind of amazes you when you're like, man, you're 20. You weren't alive for 9/11. Fuck.
Yeah, but I also can't imagine having the chutzpah to lose $3,000 when you're 22 years old. I didn't have it. Maybe I did.
Well, that's where you're talking about
$3,000. But
that's where you're talking about the bad pros. It's trust fund. It's their parents' money. It may not be a trust fund, but it's their parents' money. It's not their money at this point.
Hey, if you want to bring your parents' money to a poker table, you are more than welcome to.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's their parents' money, but when they give it to the kids, it's the kids' money. They could go spend it on blow if they want.
And they usually do. It's usually a package deal.
Oh, we can make a pie chart about that, how college kids spend their parents' money. Beer, blow, pizza, poker. We'll have to talk to
Who did you hang out with in college?
We'll have to talk to BEBS about getting another pie chart made. But anyways,
Wolf of Wall Street wannabe that was Craig's fraternity. Jesus.
Anyways, go check out our Instagram. We'll put a little image of this so you can check it out. It's again very, very official. I made it up in probably took me over 100 seconds to make this.
Well, thank you. That was very thoughtful. And right. Everybody loves a visual reference.
So, top 5 brought to you by Patch Addict. Chris curated this list and sent it to me, so
okay.
I'm only going to alter one of them.
Okay.
So, Chris thought it would be good to do annoying things that players do at a poker table that other players typically do not speak up on, but they all kind of loathe. Things that other players are like, that's fucking annoying when someone does that. That drives me nuts. So, number 5, when they think slow rolling is funny. Slow rolling is not funny. Slow rolling happens at all levels, and slow rolling is only funny in one very specific example, and that is when you're playing for not a meaningful amount of money to anybody in the game. Everybody knows each other very well, and it's pretty much stated in the beginning of the night, hey, slow rolls, they're on tonight. Like, it's like a game of who can slow roll your buddies the worst. Like, who can put the gnarliest slow roll on somebody? And I've done that, and it is fun.
The whole slow rolling, wanting to slow roll someone, being annoyed or horrified or shocked if someone is slow, that is a male thing, in my opinion. Like, ladies, leave a comment if you disagree with me, but I feel like I could give a shit if somebody slow rolls me. The speed at which I learn I lost is irrelevant. I feel like that's a pride thing. Like, how dare you make me think I thought it woneth and now I haven't. Like, I feel like it's petty and it's stupid and it's like gorilla banging your chest posturing. I feel like it's silly, and y'all look silly when you care about that.
So having been at a table a bunch of times with you, I feel like you're far more annoyed by the knit roll, which is when somebody's like in the tank forever and then they call your river bet and they're like, I just have a straight.
I'm so sorry. I have trip queens. I flopped them. It was happening so fast. I'm just like, fuck you. Call me faster.
I could have sworn when you 3-bet pre and then bet all 3 streets, you must have had 7-9 and ran out that straight. All I have is top trips. You get far more annoyed at the knit roll versus the slow roll.
That is true.
I think maybe that's the female equivalent, or just the Caitlyn equivalent.
Well, I think just me getting annoyed with most people I come into contact with is the Caitlyn equivalent. But
yeah, I mean sometimes. Again, I don't play as much, but sometimes,
poker's hard. Sometimes you're just in a pissy mood and you're rude to everybody.
Right.
We all have those days, and it's not to say it's okay. And I always want to show up and be my best self, but like, I feel like a lot of the vloggers and influencers I know, they put this pressure on themselves to be gracious and lovely all the time, and they do reach that bar, but they're tired. And I guess maybe it's because I'm a local player and these are my local clubs, but I try to give myself the space to show up authentically. And when I'm annoyed because I'm losing, like, I'm allowed to feel those feelings. I would rather move through them than try to act like they don't exist and get further annoyed and stuck because I'm sitting and suffering in silence.
Yeah. So I guess we'll call 5B the knit roll. 5A is the
5B the knit roll.
Slow roll.
All right. What does Chris have as number 3?
Okay. Number 4.
Oh, 4.
Tanking forever to get a read.
Oh, the Hollywood, the posturing, the back and forth, the drama,
stare.
the theatrics. I don't mind it if there's a significant amount of money in the pot, but if you are hemming and hawing and speech playing over a $50 pot, please quit wasting our time.
How about the show one card? People are like, will you show me one?
Again,
show me one. I've been in the tank for 20 minutes over here. Show me one card.
If it's a proper 3 or 4 bet pot and, we're on a later street, that's on the Turner River, I think there is some room for that. But as someone who plays poker 40 hours a week, for the love of God, keep it moving.
I think you're going to super agree with number 3.
Yeah.
Griping about luck. Yeah. I run so bad. And John always runs super pure. He's just always making his flushes and straights, and he's never missing, and I always miss.
Or maybe he's just not commenting on it when he does, baby.
Perhaps he's folding his hand face down when he misses rather than turning it face up and bitching about it.
I had you on the flop. I was ahead on the flop. It's not fair. Well, sucks for you. It's a 4-street game, honey. It's a 5-card hand.
Yeah. So, yeah, griping about luck when really sometimes it's just like you misplayed your hand. But I mean, to be fair, they don't realize that they misplayed their hand, and they don't really realize that other people are playing their hands properly. And another one that kind of aligns with this is sometimes people. This is fascinating how many people do this. They will see seasoned pros play a hand at a 1-2 game, right? Like really, really good players clash, and so they're both on level 7 of thought. And they'll play a $600 pot, and it'll get called with ace high on the river. Yeah. And it'll be like, you just won a $600 pot with ace high. I made a full house an hour ago and I made $30. And it's like, yeah, because you played it like a dumbass. Like everyone knows you have a full house because you don't play enough hands, or you flopped the full house and just go ahead and lead into 3 players that don't have anything because you have everything. Things like that. Yeah. It's just like the fundamental misunderstanding of how the pot is built and how it is won.
But the thing about poker culture is, you don't want that person to learn, because usually that person is, a huge support to the economy of the game.
Yeah.
So you just kind of be like, oh, yeah, man, I'm sorry. Or like, oh, yeah, it's a tough game.
Yeah. Number 2, superstitious players asking for things that will change their luck. So this would be subcategorized as seat changes,
table changes,
deck changes, table changes. Can we get a new setup?
Can we get a new setup?
Can we get a wash? Can you wash that deck, please? For those that don't know what a wash is, that could have been on our poker lingo.
Sometimes at the lodge, I never mind when people ask for a new setup at the lodge, because like TBH, and I love the lodge and we go hard for the lodge, but they do so much business. They go through a lot of decks of cards, and some of those cards they've been to war.
Yeah, and plastic cards aren't cheap, and what they do get is they get the fingernail marks, like right in the middle. This card actually here has one. And a lot of people will comment and they'll say, oh, I think that card's marked. And you turn it over and you're like, dude, that's the deuce of diamonds. Like, it's a fingernail mark from someone peeling it up like this a bunch of times. And it's like, I don't think anyone's marking the deuce of diamonds. I really don't. And by the way, if you spread this deck of 52 cards, I bet 36 of them have a fingernail mark on them. So it's kind of hard to distinguish between the deuce of diamonds and the king of clubs.
These dealers and floors, because I've seen a lot of different players say, oh, this card is marked, can we have a new deck? And to their credit, is if it's not happening repeatedly, I usually just see them no problem replace the card and keep the customer happy.
Well, I can tell you as a dealer too, a new setup, if it's actually new and it's not just like, oh, we'll replace that one that's marked, so fantastic. And it's such a weird thing, but like the way that you shuffle the cards, a lot of people, if you don't deal poker, you shuffle very differently. You shuffle face up, or you bridge it or whatever. But shuffling for poker, you have to shuffle face down, and then you have to push the cards together, and you're basically pushing them together with like your pinky and ring finger, or maybe just your pinkies. And when the cards are old, they get sticky and they push together. This is what I don't like about Chem cards specifically. And Chem was like the brand for a long time. And Chem cards push together so difficultly, and it actually starts to hurt your pinkies. And I abuse my hands. Like, my hands are like 100% callous. So if I'm complaining about it, there must be some dealers out there that just really, really hate when the deck gets like a little bit sticky and hard to push together. So when someone's like, hey, can I get a new setup? You're like, fuck yeah, you can. God, bring me some new cards that just slide right together like new. It's great. So that could be like one thing that's good, but just the dealers like it. We're talking about other players are like, God damn it, we're paying time. We don't want to wait 2 minutes while they bring in a new setup and verify all the cards are there.
That's the thing, is you're the jerk that stopped the game for upwards of 5 minutes. They have to call the floor over. If the floor is busy, the floor is finished what they're doing. They come over here and it's like, oh, give me another side. Goes in the back, gets 2 new decks of cards, puts them on the table, and then the dealer has to verify the 2 decks and then wash and shuffle and riffle a new deck. We're not playing online poker. We're not getting mass volume here. We are at our best getting 25 hands an hour, maybe upwards of 30 if we have a really good dealer and we're all in it together to just keep the game moving. But gosh, that's one thing. You want to talk about things that annoy me at the game. It's just like slowness, whether it be from people being too drunk, from people being too on their phone, any number of reasons that slow down the game.
Anything
and
slowing the game down
that
is
I just like
frustrating.
need to leave in those situations. That
when the game is going slowly,
worth it if you're only seeing 15 hands an hour.
When the game is going slowly, that's frustrating for everybody, because poker is a game where you're dependent on everybody else. And so if you slow the game down, you're slowing it down for everybody. It's not like, hey, I need a minute. You're saying, can I borrow a minute from all 9 or 10 people that are here?
Yeah.
It's weird because sometimes things get a little nitpicky down to someone, wasting 4 or 5 seconds. But if you do that 30, 40 times a night, it's frustrating for people. A passive aggressive way to handle the setup change would be maybe to suggest, be like, hey, can we play a hand while they go get that with the damage cards? So you can sit out the hand. We'll just play one. We'll just have the dealer spin one out here and you can just sit out and wait, because we don't all want to wait.
No, I feel like they keep dealing, but I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating. It does take time. I mean, understandably,
It's also like if someone wants to call the camera or the floor over, like, oh, the dealer almost accidentally shipped half the pot that way, and then we corrected them, but the player who almost received the pot now wants to check the cameras and or like whatnot, and it's like, honey, you lost.
Yeah, you lost. And even if you won, do you want to win on some weird technicality? I've seen that too, where someone's like, he mucked, and I'm like, he let go of his hand. They're not mucked until they're like mixed in the muck. And like, let's be honest, you have the losing hand.
And poker rulings are very similar to like professional sport instant replay rulings, where it's like there has to be irrefutable evidence that like
to overturn.
Otherwise the call will stand.
I mean, it's one of those things too, in that specific example, he mucked, and it's like, okay, he's holding his 2 cards right now. They're not in the muck. They're in his hand. So he didn't muck. Otherwise you lose. So you lost. Just get over it.
Yeah.
Maybe don't get caught bluffing next time. He called you and he has better holdings. You lose.
Yeah. Hey, y'all. Sorry, we got cut off there for a moment. Craig got up to use the restroom and tripped over the power cord and just fell into the computer bay, and then he caught fire. Luckily, this area wasn't affected at all.
Thank God. There's so many flammable materials.
It did take
on
us
here.
hours. But anyway, sorry for that mess up. But where were we? We're talking about annoying things. We're in our top 5.
Hold on. Of all the things you could have said, did I get up to use the restroom? You've seen me deal poker for 10 hours straight, and I don't get up one time to use the restroom. You don't think I can get through a 45-minute podcast?
That's true. Apparently, your body can handle regular kidney infections. It's very impressive.
It was a standard recording issue, but we are back with number 1.
Number 1 most annoying behavior at the poker tables.
Headphones, iPads, earbuds, whatever, distracting you from the game. You've shown up to a live poker game. Play the fucking game.
You're allowed, by the way, like, y'all are allowed to do that when you grind online at home. You can put on your cans. You can watch porn on one screen. Like, nobody gonna know, BB.
True.
But like, why you gotta catch up on Netflix on my time? I'm trying to get my hands in.
Yeah, people don't think much of it. I mean, it's just a selfish thing in general, but people don't think much of a 5-second, 10-second slowdown, but they can really stack up throughout a session, especially here in Texas. You're paying for time. We're all paying for time.
And we all glance at our phone and we check in with our emails and our messages and our socials. Like we all take a moment for like ourselves for that. But like, how hard is it to show up and be mindful and intentional with your presence at the poker table? Why is it that all the pros, why is it that all the profesh are the ones that are so disengaged from the game the most? And like, I'll even point it out to the rec players sometimes. I'm like, whoops, be careful. He's off his phone. Because you're just like, not only are you announcing that you have a playable hand, I mean, you're obviously in it, you're only playing 10% of hands, but that like, it is so beneath you to engage with a chatty table. Like when you're doing it, I was playing in a 6-handed ring last night. There were 2 drunk guys and like 3 or 4 chummy people hanging out with the drunk guys, making them want to stay. It's 5 or 6 a.m. at this point. And there is one douche canoe watching like fucking cricket or soccer or who gives a hell on his phone. I think he might have even been grinding online, which is like 10 times worse than any other thing you can do at your phone at the poker table, in my humble opinion. Anyway, this motherfucker got in a 3-way all-in with both the drunk whales with a club draw. They ran it once and he freaking got there against a set and an overpair.
And let me guess, he racked up approximately 11.9 seconds after.
To his credit, he stayed and he did play some hands. And I think he follows me on Instagram and he saw me calling him out and he put his phone down.
That's kind of funny.
Sorry, BB, I'm here to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things too. I mean, honestly, a simple tip for the non-pros is like, you're perfectly welcome to look at your phone and do all those like distracting things, because a lot of times, I mean, if you're playing properly, you are folding 70% or more of your hands. So one thing that this is super elementary, but for anyone that might be listening for that, keep a hand on the felt, because the dealers are good at hitting your fingers with the cards. The card's going to come sliding in. So like, go ahead, fold your hand, get on your phone, be reading the news, looking at Instagram, whatever, but keep one hand on the felt. The next hand's going to get dealt out and you're going to feel a card hit your fingers, and 4.5 seconds later, you're going to feel a second card hit your fingers. Go ahead, look at it. If it sucks, wait your turn, fold it, go back to your phone. Pretty easy. You're not wasting anybody's time. Just act on your hand and then go about your business.
Okay, so Craig wants the bare minimum. I think I want and deserve better, so I demand more from all of you.
That's fair too.
Put your phone down. Like, sometimes it takes so much energy for me to show up to a game and be table captain and like get people drinking or laughing and talking. And if I have 2 or 3 people at the table that are just like on lockdown auditorily and visually,
yeah, it's frustrating.
get the hell off my table. Like, we're trying to have a good time here. Sometimes I lose. And even when I lose, I like to have fun because that's what's called having a fulfilling life. Try it on for size.
What a weird way to look at things. Trying to have fun while living.
But anyway, I think we read them to filth, Queen. Let's move on to Harsh But Fair.
No, tell us about a hand you played.
Oh, a hand I played. All right. So I had a couple of different hands that I played this week. Would you rather hear about me beating a pro, losing to a whale, or losing to a pro?
I'm always partial to a losing story, but only if you can laugh about it.
I can laugh about it.
Okay.
I was so nervous for Monday. I knew I had an idea of who was on the lineup beforehand. It's a very skilled lineup, very tight lineup. And I was worried I was going to get pushed off hands for whatever reason. Sometimes I get paranoid. It stems a lot from insecurity. We already covered this earlier, I'm pretty sure. But it's all just a blur to me today. I played overnight in case that wasn't abundantly clear to everyone. But on Monday, or no, we want to do me losing to a whale, you said.
It's
Losing
up to
to the
you.
whale or the pro.
You can tell a losing story as long as you can laugh about it.
Well, the one you can watch me try to represent nuts into second nutch on TCH Live against, I think, Jeremy. It was the name he was going by. But that just sort of speaks for itself. I was just trying to get a little too feisty and creative with my play. And
it is super hard to rep the nuts when somebody has them. God, it's so hard. One of these
with
days.
With top pair to go with it. Like, what was I thinking? I was never trying to get that hand to fold, as my pro friends like to say. I was never trying to get a king high flush to fold. That was the idea. Trying to get him off 2 pair, obviously. But okay, anyway. So me losing to a whale. I don't want to call him a whale. I thought he won like $10,000 last night. So who am I to say? But anyway, I open on top of got probably an $80 straddle with ace jack suited. Or no, I 3-bet. I 3-bet and open. That's right. There was an under the gun open from a tricky player, but I had ace jack in later position. So I 3-bet. And we get 2 friends to the flop. The whale, so to speak, opponent is in the big blind. And then the other guy is the guy in the middle. So I flop top pair. Flop is ace, 7, 10, 1 spade. I have spades. And so I...
Top pair, good kicker, backdoor draws.
Yeah. Goes check to me. And I continue for 30% pot. Only the big blind comes with me. Opponent 1.
Heads up now. And then on the turn, an 8 comes in. It's a red 8. So now my flush draw's off the table. But backdoor straight draw, gutter.
Yeah. Now we have a gutter to go with our top pair. I bet like 2/3 pot, and he still comes with me. And granted, this is a sticky player, and he can lose big pots. So it's perfectly within my realm. I'm putting him on a lot of different hands at this point. 10-7 is definitely very much in this guy's range to defend from the big blind from 3-bet. Anyway,
and if 10-7's there, A7 is also there.
100%. Anyway, so River pairs the 8 of clubs.
Ooh, that's a good card for you.
I thought that was a really good card for me because if he has 10-7, it counterfeits him. If he has ace-7, it counterfeits him. So I go all in for probably 2,200 behind. At that point, it's like a 7K pot total, maybe 7.5 with the other opponent. But anyway, he actually thinks about it for a really long time. And my live read at the moment was that he did not feel good about his hand. Like he felt behind.
You're thinking maybe a worse ace.
Yeah, worse ace all the way. I thought I was getting paid off by a worse ace. I really did. Swear to God. Or that I counterfeited him. So I go all in, and he thinks about it a little bit, and and then he eventually says, I call, but like never at any point looking good about it. He turns over 7s full of 8s.
Which I...
Never in a million years did I put him on a set. I feel stupid now, but he was so nervous. And I saw him later at the lodge, and I was like, oh my God, you absolutely... Because he felted me. I was like, you got me good earlier. Like, I totally didn't put you on that hand. Even
so he flopped bottom set, river to boat, bottom boat.
Yeah. But he was like, I don't know. You just kept betting it so big. And I was like, oh God, what does she have here?
Well, the important thing that is of note here is, I guess the only hand in your range there that is beating him is pocket aces. So
no,
because
an ace
you 3
8,
bet,
I suppose, ace 8 or 8 7 or 8.
Any other boat, but like it's not as likely because you 3 bet pre-flop. The most likely would be aces full. And the bottom line is, I don't know, if you have a boat and someone has aces full, like just pay them off already. There's no need to think about it. Just pay them off.
I mean, he didn't think about it for all that long, but like I do think it was a real possibility to him that I had aces full. So
there's been
hilarious.
a few times that I've kind of gone in the tank sometimes, and I'm like, man, is this really just like a super cooler? And then I'm like, dude, you have a straight. Just fucking get the money in. If you lost, you lost. I mean, you're never folding in this spot, so just get the money in there.
Yeah. You're exploitable if you do that.
I suppose, yeah.
All right. Should we wrap it up with harsh but fair?
Yes.
All right. Do you want to go first this week?
Okay.
Okay.
Caitlin, you're a little more difficult to deal with when you're low on sleep like this, and you're low on sleep because you're just out playing poker for tens of thousands of dollars, and I just, you're setting your priorities on your full-time gigs, and, it's causing you to be low on sleep, tired, irritable for the things that, the ventures
I need you for.
that are losing money, right? Okay, so we have this venture that's not making any money. We do have a sponsor. We're covering some costs, but there's more than that. So, I mean, we're losing dozens of dollars on this podcast, and you're trying to win thousands of dollars playing poker. I wonder if your priorities are in the right spot.
Harsh but fair, Craig. Harsh but fair. All right, my turn. Okay, I have to come up with one.
You had time.
I had so much time.
No harsh but fair today?
No, I'm going to do harsh but fair.
Damn,
Craig.
I thought I was off the hook.
Craig, I hated that you were using power tools when I was trying to nap.
Trying to increase, our visual aids here.
It was a very thoughtful thing, and I wanted it for us, but I also want sleep for me.
I do believe I tried to warn you that there was going to be a pneumatic staple gun about.
No, you did. You were
3 feet from your
harsh
face.
but fair about the whole thing. To be perfectly frank,
yeah,
I don't really have a problem with you. If anything, I'm like, my harsh but fair is Craig is a saint for putting up with having to deal with me on an all-night bender. Truly did not sleep a wink, not a single wink, but on the couch an hour before we recorded this.
Yeah, shame on me for trying to get our podcast ready while you're trying to sleep.
I know.
Harsh.
But fair.
Fair.
This has been the Texas Poker Experience. Shout out to our sponsor, Patch Addict. You can iron them on your clothing. They have poker themes. You can get a 20% discount using the code TexasPoker. Thank you for your continued support, patchaddict.com. This has been the Texas Poker Experience with Caitlin Komeski and Craig Sear.
All right, y'all. Don't be in it. Nobody likes them.
Always with the straddle on.